to Hey Hey Sports, episode 6. We are finally back together, and that's the way it should be. We're back at the mansion. Before we go any further, a quick shout out to, if you guys get to the south suburbs, Aurelio's Pizza. It's the sauce, and we are not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by Aurelio's. But if you can get to the original location in Homewood, Illinois, that's where it should be done. And I highly recommend that you go there and get the sausage. We are also going to throw a shout out to
Retro Rock. For Retro Rock Roundup by Mike and Jeremy Wiles for all your rock and roll needs. Radiation, rockin' the nation. Listen to them,
There you go. So we want to throw out a couple of just some of our favorite stuff. We haven't been around together for a while, but we have several things we want to touch upon briefly, but the bulk of our show is going to be the Chicago Cubs in the first half. The first half of the season has ended. I shouldn't say that. The All-Star break has happened. I don't want to say the first half, because if there's 162 ball games, the Cubs have played more than 81 games, so we are more than halfway home. But
it's 12 weeks left of the baseball season.
There's currently the All-Star break. So we want to talk about the Cubs. We're going to talk about a little bit of the Sox and their anniversary reunion, dealing with some batting averages. I'm going to go on a little rant about PCA towards the end. The Bears' position rankings have come out as well. We can debate a little bit of that, dealing with their offensive line ranking and their skill position. But the first thing that I want to just touch upon again, briefly, and I do not want to spend any more, and I'm going to put a stopwatch on here, because if we go any more than 4 minutes on this, this is 4 minutes more than I should dedicate to the NBA. A while back, LeBron James is now backing up the truck a little bit, beep, 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 and saying there's no correlation between rings and success. Where before, way back when he took his talents to South Beach, he sat there with Dwayne Wade and a few other people and said, we're not going to be 3, not going to be 4, not going to be 5, not going to be 6. He was counting rings. Now that he is literally probably one more year away from retirement, now all of a sudden he's like, there's we can't count success with the amount of rings that we have. So he's backing up the truck, okay? And so now he's trying, because he's not going to catch Michael, okay? And in all honesty, Michael's not going to catch big shot Bob Horry. And I think Bob Horry's not going to catch Bill Russell. They got the rings. LeBron, I believe, has 4 rings.
And a losing record in the finals.
That's it. 4 rings. Many people have 4 rings. Okay? And we could do a show on that later on. But he's lost more championship series than he's won. So LeBron's backing up the truck. And now he's saying there's no correlation between rings and all-time success. So I have given an hour, 1 minute and 47 seconds to the NBA, and that's literally over 90 seconds more than I want to give any credit to. So, with that being said, I want to go to the Bears. Okay. Just recently, the Bears I'm looking at some of my notes here. NFL, ESPN and the NFL has given rankings to positions for each team. And if you have not seen them, I found it to be very amusing. And I think, once again, they meaning the Bears, they are stockpiling all the evidence, once again, to not make Caleb Williams the number one reason if in fact they don't succeed. They are stockpiling so much evidence to say, well, it can't be Caleb Williams. Well, If you're asking me, Caleb Williams is the intangible. Right now, the Chicago Bears offensive line, believe it or not, is ranked 4th. Let me repeat that. 4th. You go to Super Bowls with offensive lines.
You do.
The Bears are 4th.
Look at the 2006 offensive line for the Chicago Bears. That was a great team.
Now, if you sit there and you're going to tell me that, and 3 of them are north of 34 years of age.
Isn't there one of them who's played or started less games than Tevin Jenkins or somebody such as that?
The guy they picked up from the Rams, I believe, has played less games than a guy they cut.
That's a red flag. Or, in this case, a navy blue and orange flag.
And we'll get you those names a little bit later. They paid big money for the guy from Kansas City.
Who they let go from a conference-winning team.
And Kansas City won a Super Bowl.
Well, they won a couple.
But they're letting this guy leave. So that's telling me that they got better guys in the stable than these 34-year-old guys that the Bears are going to have. Who then you got to ask the question, who's ranking them where if you got 3 35-year-old guys on the offensive line and they're the 4th rated,
and one of them has played less games or started less games than a guy that you cut, that's a problem.
And 2 years ago,
That's a problem.
2 years ago, that terrible line that was with Justin Fields, I believe had the 6th, or was it last year?
Was that the one with Dan Feeney from Orland Park, and they were making a big deal about that?
They had this. I think it was. I think they had the 6th best running attack in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, no. That was the one that we did our previous show on. That was the one when the running backs coach got fired mysteriously, and no one understood or how and why that happened.
And so I think they're saying, well, if you got this great offensive line, and no longer Fields, it's Caleb Williams. If Caleb Williams goes from 68 sacks to 53.
Or 40.
Well, they're not going to go from 68 to 40.
Well, 40 is still a lot.
I'm making
50 still a lot.
50. I'm making baby steps there. There's a difference of 18 sacks, which would be 1 per game if you play 17 games.
Well, he may get sacked. There's a 17-game schedule.
Still, 50 sacks is a lot of sacks. So how in the world, and if this is the best offensive line, again, a lot of the reason for the sacks are going to be on Caleb Williams.
Well, the situation with that, and you can spin so many yards on this. Well, number one, the argument will be said. It's a new coach, new offensive system, new everything. It's going to take time, growing pains, in order to accumulate the success in the ways how they want it to be. Second of all, you can get sacked one time for 17 games. You can get sacked 1.5 or however it may be. I'm not great at mathematics, but
meaning.
Well, and for the mathematical accumulation that you just
so if you get one less sack over 17 games, you go from 58 to 41.
Yeah.
Or I say 68 to 51.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, and 51 sacks is still a lot of sacks. So there are still going to be reasons why the quarterback got sacked.
Well, yeah. However, are they even in training camp yet?
I believe next weekend is when the Bears training camp. I believe the San Diego Chargers rookies are reporting this particular weekend.
Okay, well, it's not time. I don't think it's time to panic just yet. For the Chicago, I don't think it is. But I will say this.
I'm glad you're mentioning that because that's going to tie into the end of our show.
Well, let me say this, please, before we go into that. Okay. Offensive linemen. I'm sorry, I'm in the camp of where you draft offensive linemen. You don't get them in trades, unless you're Jason Peters going to Philadelphia from Buffalo.
Because if people are willing to give up linemen,
they're bad.
They're bad.
They're bad, or they're lazy, or they're not good. There's something wrong with them. You get them in the draft. You get offensive and defensive linemen in the draft. You don't get them in trades. Wide receivers, sure. Quarterbacks, yeah. Running backs, yeah. defensive backs, yeah, you can get everyone and anyone else from a trade. You don't get linemen in trades.
Since you segue into that, saw this, the skill positions which deal with wide receiver, tight end, and running back. Because we're led to believe the Bears have all these weapons. Weapons.
We've been hearing that for the last 5 years.
The Bears are ranked 24th
That's bad.
in that category that I just gave you
That's abysmal.
of wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs.
And this goes back into what I've been saying forever. You go and you look back and because I know so many people want to talk about the Bears quarterbacks and all of that, but you go and you look back. Who's the best wide receiver in team history?
Johnny Morris.
and Ken Kavanaugh. Who's the best pass-catching tight end in team history? It's Mike Ditka. And these are guys who play in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Not together, not all three of them in the same team, but that's how long ago it is.
And once again,
That's bad.
and if you're going to, so now the new shiny toy at quarterback, it's going to be, I'm already telling you people what the excuses are going to be. They're not in sync with the new offensive coordinator. The pass routes are not where they need to be. You know what? DJ Moore's been in the league how long?
Long time.
There's no excuse for DJ Moore not being able to run a route.
And he has a bad attitude.
Okay?
He's got no business.
Cole Kmet has been in the league how long?
Since 2019 or 2020.
Cole Kmet should have no excuse for allegedly.
And if I'm Cole Kmet, I'm concerned for my job because they just drafted a tight end.
Yes. And I would go back into the huddle and tell the golden boy, listen, if you're playing in the sandlot, I'm open. Get me the ball.
Well,
How many times has he been open? Now, and then they have to, what's the word I'm looking for? They have to account for drafting Roma Doomsday so high last year.
he's been pretty good so far. Granted, he only had one season.
He had
was
one
all
season.
right. He was all right.
So now you're mixing all of this stuff in.
I don't want to see, and him and I, we had a conversation about this yesterday off air. We had a conversation about we don't want to see behavior of last year where we're down by 20 touchdowns and we only got 5 wins, but we scored in the fourth quarter, so now we're going to start dancing. No, I don't want to see that.
And I asked a magical question yesterday, and maybe people are out there if you take a look at this. Are you more interested in the Bears quarterback breaking not a record, but a number which has not been exceeded in the history of the Chicago Bears, and then you sit there and go, okay, this quarterback had 4,000 yards, but the Bears ended up with 6 wins? Because I still say the Bears are going to get 6 wins. Okay, they could stretch it to 7. You guys look at the schedule, and you guys decide.
I think they can get some wins. They got a great coaching staff. They got Eric Bieniemy. They got Ben Johnson.
Okay, but the verdict is still out with Ben Johnson. But I guess to wrap up this Bears little segment here, currently the offensive line is ranked 4th. So does that mean they're going to open up holes running, or are they going to just block where Golden Boy is going to have seconds?
They don't have a running back. They got 5 of them. They don't have one.
And I think I saw last a stat that DeAndre Swift from QB1s, running back 1s, and there's 32 NFL teams.
Yes.
He was 31
That's bad.
with yards after contact.
That's horrible.
So basically, when you touch him, he goes down.
But here's the other thing of it is too, and this goes back to what you just said about the 4,000-yard passer stat. Number one, that's not even the most humiliating statistic of that. The Chicago Bears have never had a quarterback put up 30 touchdowns in a season. So it's like you can run down. There's so many different ways you can get down to the end zone.
And
all you gotta do is score.
I'm gonna do some quick math here, okay, with my calculator here.
But if you can scheme an offense, and if you have a great running game, a great passing game, you shouldn't have to have a guy who have 4,000 yards passing. If you do, it's like, you're down by 20 points anyway.
For those that are poor in math, I just divided it. That means it's 1.7 touchdown passes per game in a 17-game schedule. You don't have to average 2. You just average 1.7 to get to 30 touchdown passes. And the Bears have not done that. As we get closer to training camp, we'll talk more about the Bears. So we're rolling a little bit. We do have to do a shout out with the White Sox and their 20th anniversary of winning the World Series. They had the unveiling of the Burley statue on Friday. Yesterday they had 20 of the, and I watched the guys come in, and if you look at that team, you sit there and go, how in the hell did they ever win a World Series?
Well, there was the one guy with the crazy dreadlocks. He looks like the Predator.
I think that was Juan Uribe. And you look at that, they had the Japanese guy come over.
Aguchi?
Aguchi. Okay.
Canerco's put on some weight, too.
Okay, the big namers, you had Canerco, you had
AJ
Przinsky, you had Scotty Pods, and you had
Joe Creedy at third base.
And Jermaine Dye.
Joe Creedy, still the best third baseman in Chicago White Sox history. You can fight me on that. I don't care.
Okay. Bill Melton.
I'm sorry. But after Joe Creedy, it's been a revolving door.
But it's the same thing with the Cubs.
It's been a revolving door at third base.
And we didn't even mention, and we'll mention a little bit on Shaw's hitting, but once again, Kevin Ory, since Ron Santo, Kevin Ory was supposed to be the defensive wizard.
There's a song. It's Who's Been on Third Since Santo, and it's a parody of Billy Joel's We Did Start the Fire. But it's about every Chicago Cub third baseman after Ron Santo.
And then, this Matt Shaw is going to be the next Brooks Robinson, and so many of these, if you're looking at guys with, okay, we got to get a guy who can hit. You know what? Nick Magical last year could catch everything but couldn't hit. But
that opens up a door to my segue. The Cubs traded away a third baseman that they needed to Houston, Paredes,
who's an all-star,
and he hits like 250, 260.
Okay, so but the anniversary of the Chicago White Sox took place, and the one guy that wasn't there was the guy who was on the mound when the last game was played. Okay, we had Bobby Jenks.
R.I.P. Bobby Jenks.
Bobby Jenks at age 44 and cancer, a little bit too early, and he was on the hill when that ground ball was hit the short and thrown over to first. And the White Sox with Ozzie Guillen, who has been passed up. Okay, now he may be too old to be, but then again, La Russa wasn't.
Well,
but anyway,
I will say this, and you know how I feel about Ozzie Guillen. You know how I feel about Ozzie Guillen, but this White Sox team currently, Ozzie Guillen is by far the best option. Because who else wants that job? Who else is going to need that? Who else is going to take that job and give them respectability that they don't have? Who else is going to put asses in the seats to go out and say, hey, we're going to go see the Sox? They need Ozzie Guillen.
They do. And Will Venerable, once I said, if Will Venerable, if they only lose 100 games or 99,
the White Sox need to start playing their prospects.
He needs to be manager of the year because that's 22 games better than what no major league team will be 22 games.
How many times do we hear about the great? Has Colson Montgomery played yet?
He's playing third base, and yes, he's playing third base because. Midroff is playing shortstop.
And why weren't they playing him sooner? Why don't the White Sox? Because living in the area and having to hear about the White Sox farm system and everything, it's like they never utilize it, and they got all this talent you keep hearing about from Charlotte or Birmingham, Alabama, or whatever it may be, and they never utilize it. They never did.
And the old softball guy, Andrew Vaughn's playing for the Brewers.
And he's killing it.
And I think he has had 4 RBIs in 4 games, which now brings us into, the bulk of our remainder of our time here, the Cubs. Okay, the Cubs now have played. We are now more than halfway, but now we're at the All-Star break because the All-Star game is later and later every single solitary year. Okay, Currently, the Cubs did win today. They beat the Yankees. And the Brewers did beat the hapless Washington
Nationals.
The Cubs are 1 game ahead of the Brewers at this time. At one point, they were 6.5 game lead. Now, granted, I know that was probably in May and June, and it's a marathon, not a sprint.
However, no one was really, even though I was having to talk you off a ledge from the home opener, which we went to, from day one against San Diego, you were already jumping off a building. But here we are now, and granted, yeah, did I think you were a little crazy for panicking already? Yeah. However, here we are now, and as I said before on my previous episode that I did, 12 of the guys they've had on the mound are negative WAR pitchers.
Okay. I'm not a big WAR and run plus. There's all kinds of acronyms out there.
But they're bad. Okay. They need help.
Just say they are bad. Okay. They're bad, plain and simple.
They're bad.
We don't need analytical data to let them know. You got to be watching the game. You
can pull up a stat sheet. You can see this.
And then all it was for the short time in April and May. Once they get out of May, they had the toughest schedule.
What's the stat of them not hitting a home run and them losing the game?
I'll jump right into that. Okay. There are only 10 games all season long, 10 games, where the Cubs have won when they did not hit a home run. So, simplifying that, basically, it's when the Cubs hit a home run, they win. When they don't hit a home run,
they're screwed.
They lose. Okay. Now we're going to go into...
Granted, yeah, they won today. They beat the Yankees.
They won today.
They took the series from New York, going in the All-Star break, and deservedly so. That's okay. Wonderful.
Okay, but now they're ragging on Matt Shaw, and he's not even playing anymore, or in the last week, because he's not hitting.
And they finally dropped down Ian Happ.
They dropped Ian Happ to the 7th spot because Ian Happ, and they made reference to this. Ian Happ was 9 of 50. There was a thing of 9 for 50. You know what? The only one that they don't make reference to those kind of statistics are
Pete Crow Armstrong.
Pete Crow Armstrong. Thank you. Which I now jump in because I've always said since day one, Pete Crow Armstrong cannot hit Major League pitching. Now, you're going to sit back.
I don't.
And people are going to say, is he nuts? He's got 26 home runs and 71 RBIs. Okay. I have been charting since July 1st in the Cleveland series.
I think this is...
As of today, okay, Pete Crow Armstrong,
oh, God,
as of today, is 14 for 49. Now you're going to sit there and go, 14 for 49 if you do the math on that, and I have done the math. It's a 285 batting average. You might sit there and go, gee, 285, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. 285 is pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Okay. I don't know what you're complaining about.
But during that period of time, okay, 9 of those hits were in 3 games. 9 of those hits were in 3 games when the Cubs were winning big, when they blew out St. Louis.
So are you implying he's not a clutch hitter?
If you take those 9 hits away from Pete Crow Armstrong, okay? Pete Crow Armstrong now, you take those 9 hits away and those at-bats, he's 5 for 36 in the month of July, which is a batting average of 183. There were 7 games in the month of July where he was 0 for. Let me repeat that if you didn't hear me. 7 games in the month of July where he was 0 for. he's a great front runner. When the Cubs are winning 4-1, bam, he knocks a ball out on Waveland Avenue and Sheffield, and he's doing the other thing. When he makes an out, he's throwing helmets, he's throwing bats. Every time that there's a bang bang play, I want to get the headphones on because he thinks he's safe. And you know what? He's out. He there was a play yesterday, and he was damn sure he was safe. And the ump goes, after further review, he's out. And then, what's going to happen in cold weather Philadelphia in October?
If you make October, because at this point,
yes,
with your lack of pitching,
yes, I mean
you don't have
everybody, and our boy, our $8 million manager said 90 games. You got to win 90 games. 90 games is a playoff number. I believe now they have 56.
And you said they got to win what? At least 30?
56 and 90 would be 34. They got to win 34 more games, and it's not second half of the season because you're already 90-some games in.
There's 12 weeks left, and I know some of the teams they got to play. They got to go play Boston after the All-Star break, and Boston is looking mighty fine right now. They got to go play a Toronto Blue Jays team who's winning their division.
I believe they're in first place.
They got to go and play 8 games against Milwaukee. One of them is a doubleheader because one of them previously got rained out. You got to go play who else? The New York Mets. You got to go play a St. Louis Cardinals team again. You got to play a Pirates team again.
Don't they play Frisco again? Do we check that?
They do. They do. They got to go play the White Sox again as well.
They're not playing the Nats, and they're not playing.
Oh, they also play Tampa too. Tampa's a wild card team.
Kansas City is being. They're playing teams that are fighting for wild card spots. Okay. And Imanaga pitched well today after coming off the DL.
And Matthew Boyd pitched well too.
Yes. Okay. Now, you got Thion. You wonder how he's going to be after coming back off the DL.
Well, that's another pitcher hurt. Shota Imanaga hurt. Justin Steele hurt. Jameson Taillon hurt. Matthew Boyd was hurt. Porter Hodge hurt. 5 starters.
Ben Brown demoted.
That's 6.
Okay.
6.
Now, okay, I don't think they play again till Friday of next week after the All-Star break, okay? And Boyd already announced that he's not going to pitch in the All-Star game. He just wants to be part of it.
So why are you going?
It's nice to be recognized, but he doesn't want the wear and tear. I would still say, I want to pitch to a batter.
Why is Seiya Suzuki not in the All-Star game? He's a Major League RBI leader. Why is he not in?
Well,
and that's another guy. Cubs fans, when the minute they got Seiya Suzuki, Cubs fans didn't want to get him. They didn't want to have him because they were concerned how the play of the game was going to translate from the Japanese league into the major leagues. They didn't want him, and here he is now. And you know what? He's been a hell of a player, and he's been the scapegoat for everything that's gone wrong.
He was rumored this summer that maybe we ought to unload him for a starting pitcher and blah, 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 which now I'm glad you brought that up because, we're kind of, on a clock here a little bit, but we don't want to, overstep our bounds. But if the upcoming signings, we have the trade deadline July 31st in 3 weeks.
And they haven't done anything.
Cubs need a pitcher. Okay?
Yep.
Now they're all sitting back going, and Tucker's numbers are not warranting any way, shape, or form where he's going to be a $500 million player.
No, age 28 for a 10, 12-year contract.
Okay. Bellinger's stats are just as good, but they didn't want to give Bellinger a 3-year contract. So I don't think they're going to sign Tucker.
And that would be a waste. If you trade away the 3 guys that you did. You get traded away Paredes, Wisniewski.
Wisniewski's on the DL now.
They also traded
Heinz-
away Cam Ward
I know hindsight's 2020. You might sit
for
there.
Kyle Tucker, and you trade away 3 guys to get Kyle Tucker for just 1 year to be a glorified rental player, and you don't make the playoffs.
Yes.
That's a waste.
And then
Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins and Mr. Ricketts, you got to be looking yourself in the mirror like, wow, what did we do wrong here?
And if they don't, if they make a trade and unload some of the prospects, the guys that you like.
Why? Owen Casey, James Triantos, Kevin Alcantara. You traded away everyone's fan favorites of Anthony Rizzo and Baez and all these other guys in order to get them. And Kyle Tucker, again, for 1 year to be a glorified rental player, and he's not extended, and the Cubs fan base just more than happy. Just more than happy.
Pittsburgh would jump at the opportunity to trade Keller, their number 3, for those 3 guys you just mentioned.
To trade away all those guys you have in the farm system
For somebody's second-tier starting pitcher.
when you don't have Kyle Tucker extended, and there's no guarantee of you making the postseason currently, that would be a tragedy.
Because you've extended Ian Happ, who's having a rough year.
Yep, and you also got no trade deal.
Well, he's it's not. It is considered a no trade deal, but it's more of a veterans. I've been with a 5 and 10 guy.
But still, you're stuck with him. You
Right.
can't move him.
Only if he agrees to where he wants to go. So they're sitting back. And the trade deadline's in 2 weeks.
What are they going to get? It's going to be another prospect.
You figure
That's what it's going to be.
You figure there's going to be, one true representative from that division, because you don't know if the second place team is going to get in there for the wild card.
No, you don't.
And once again, it's I'm kind of going to end up on this and say, everybody was telling me, just enjoy the Cubs are 16 games over 500, 17 games over 500, 15.
See, that's
and right now I think they are still 15 games over 500, which is Cubs haven't been 15 games over 500 in many years.
But that's different. See, being 15, 16 games in like the April, May, that's different. Here you are, 12 weeks left of the season, and you got to go through run through the gauntlet of like 12 different teams. I'm more than happy to have your head on the chopping block and just destroy you every way they see fit. That's a problem.
Fortunately, if they do stub their toe, we looked at that yesterday, the third wild card team is 5 games behind the Brewers. So if the Cubs and the Brewers were to flip-flop first and second, the Cubs would then have a 4-game lead over that final wild card spot.
But here's the thing, though. You would have to fend off, and I said this before, if you were in a wild card positioning, you would have to fend off, fight for your survival against everybody. You have to fight off against the Cardinals, the Padres, the Mets. You got to fight off all these other teams. Again, be more than happy to punch you in the face and take what you have. And if you lose 2 games, you're screwed.
But I guess to kind of wrap this whole thing up, it's a walking on hot coals right now, hoping the Cubs could guarantee a wild card spot.
What do you say
after the success they've had in the first half of the season?
What do you say to the people? Because there's a lot of people on Cubs fan pages and chat blogs and Facebook and whatever saying it's just, it's just 1 game. It's just no. You're 1 game ahead of your divisional opponent, and you got to go play them for 8 games, and you got to go run through just gauntlets of great teams with loaded teams. They're just more than happy to beat you. What do you say to the teams, and I mean not the teams, to the fans, the so-called fans, Cub fans out there who are just saying, well, it's just 1 game, who cares? When last 2 years, coulda, shoulda, and woulda, should have been wild card the last 2 years. They screwed that one up, and everyone's trying to tell you and me, they gotta go play the Reds, they gotta go play so and so, gotta go play the Rockies. Remember last year they'd go play the Rockies, and the Rockies humiliated them? And they couldn't even beat a bad Rockies team?
They still got to play several teams in their own division who give them fits.
Yeah.
The Lonely Reds,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
you know.
Gotta play St. Louis again.
And those people would just love to.
And where are they? You know what? Imagine being a fan of a team and you're only like 1 or 2, 3 games back of a wild card spot, and you can't fill a stadium.
They were 10. Not,
Where are you? Where are
they
you?
were 10,000. They averaged 10,000 less than previous years when the Cubs played the Cardinals down there. They're only front runners, and leave it at that. One thing we did forgot to mention, if our viewers get a chance, get an opportunity to look at, it's the anniversary of the Lee Elia rant. If you get the opportunity to look at the uncensored version of the rant when Lee Elia was the Cubs coach, manager, and he went off in the clubhouse, Google it on YouTube. It's like 6 minutes long. I think there's 72 F-bombs, and you'll enjoy that.
If you take a shot of whiskey, every time he says the F word, you're gonna have a rough time.
So we're wrapping up things. We haven't been together for a while. We hope that I hope there's no more solo podcast. But let's get the traction going. Again, this is Hey Sports.
Signing off. Hey, before we go, once again, shout out to
Aurelio's Pizza. It's the sauce. Joe Aurelio, Southsider.
Retro Rock Roundup for all your music needs. For Mike and Jeremy Wiles, co-hosts.
And we'll see you next weekend when the Major League Baseball resumes. Hey Sports. And this is episode 6. Thank you very much for watching.
Take care. Have a great day.